The emergency room had seen every kind of pain imaginable, but nothing prepared the staff for the man who rolled through the automatic doors that cold November morning. His wheelchair carried more than his weight. It carried years of sacrifice, invisible scars, and a silence that seemed heavier than the metals pinned neatly across his faded military jacket. Captain Daniel Hayes, a decorated Navy SEAL, had survived missions that few people would ever hear about, yet today he looked like a man defeated by ordinary life. Beside him walked a massive Belgian Malinois named Valor, every movement calm, deliberate, and watchful. The dog never took his eyes off the people surrounding his captain. Several nurses glanced at the wheelchair before returning to their conversations. One orderly whispered, another veteran wanting special treatment. A young resident sighed impatiently as Daniel waited quietly near the reception desk. Only the newest nurse noticed something different. Emma Carter had joined the hospital barely 3 days earlier. Fresh from military medical service overseas, she understood the quiet dignity carried by wounded soldiers. She approached with a warm smile instead of pity. "Good morning, Captain. How can I help you today?" Daniel hesitated before answering. His voice was steady but tired. "Can you help me? My breathing has been getting worse. Something doesn't feel right." Before Emma could respond, another nurse interrupted. "Room 4 is already full. He can wait like everyone else." Daniel nodded politely, refusing to argue. Years of discipline had taught him patience. Then Valor suddenly stepped between the wheelchair and everyone else. The dog's ears stood straight. His muscles tightened. A deep growl echoed through the emergency room. Conversation stopped instantly. "Control your dog," someone shouted. But Emma didn't move. She had worked beside military K9 teams before. Service dogs never reacted without reason. Valor wasn't showing aggression. He was warning them. Emma looked into the dog's focused eyes, then back at Daniel. His skin had turned strangely pale. Tiny beads of sweat covered his forehead despite the cool air. His fingers trembled against the wheelchair armrest. "Captain," Emma asked softly, "are you feeling dizzy?" Daniel tried to answer but suddenly clutched his chest. "I can't." His sentence never finished. He collapsed forward as the heart monitor at Tredge screamed to life and Valor barked once. A sharp, urgent warning that froze the entire emergency room just before chaos erupted. Emma caught Daniel before he slipped from the wheelchair, lowering him carefully to the floor as panic spread through the emergency room. Doctors rushed toward the commotion, but Valor refused to let anyone near his captain. The powerful Malinois stood over Daniel, barking with fierce determination. To frightened onlookers, it looked like the dog had turned dangerous. To Emma, it looked like something completely different. She slowly knelt, keeping her hands visible. "Valor," she said calmly, "I'm here to help him." The dog's ears twitched. For a tense second no one breathed. Then Valor stepped aside. The room fell silent. "How did you do that?" One physician whispered. "No time." Emma answered. "He's crashing." She checked Daniel's pulse. It was weak, uneven, and fading fast. His lips were turning blue. "He needs oxygen now." "Cardiac monitor." "Move." The senior resident frowned. "You're the new nurse. Let the doctors handle this." Emma looked directly at him. "If we wait another minute, he'll arrest." Her confidence stunned everyone. Reluctantly, the team followed her instructions. Daniel's heartbeat suddenly became chaotic across the monitor. "He has an irregular rhythm." Emma shouted, "Prepare the crash cart." The attending physician finally arrived, expecting confusion instead of organization. He paused when he saw the newest nurse directing experienced staff with military precision. "Who are you?" he asked. "Former combat medic," Emma replied without looking up. "Please trust me." Before anyone could respond, Daniel's heart stopped. The monitor emitted one terrifying flat tone. "Start CPR." Emma began perfect compressions while another nurse prepared the defibrillator. "Charging." "Clear." Daniel's body jerked. "Nothing." Again, another shock. Still nothing. The room filled with hopeless expressions. Emma refused to stop. She remembered treating wounded soldiers under enemy fire where giving up had never been an option. "One more round," she demanded. The physician hesitated. "We're losing him." "No," Emma answered firmly. "He's still fighting." A Valor remained perfectly still beside the bed, watching every movement with unwavering faith. Another shock surged through Daniel's chest. For one endless second the monitor remained silent. Then beep, another beep, another. A steady rhythm returned. Gasps echoed across the emergency room. Daniel inhaled sharply, coughing as oxygen rushed back into his lungs. Relief swept through the staff, but Emma's expression stayed serious. "This isn't over," she warned. "Something caused his heart to fail, and if we don't find it now, we'll lose him again." No one argued anymore. The nurse they had dismissed moments earlier had just brought a decorated SEAL captain back from death, and the greatest surprise was still waiting to be uncovered. The emergency room transformed overnight. The whispers that had questioned Emma's experience were replaced by quiet respect as specialists rushed to uncover the hidden cause of Daniel's collapse. Advanced scans revealed something no routine examination had detected. A tiny metal fragment from an explosion years earlier had shifted near a major artery. creating an internal injury that had silently worsened until his heart could no longer compensate. Had he arrived even 15 minutes later, no surgery in the world would have saved him. The lead surgeon looked at Emma before the operation began. If you hadn't recognized the warning signs, we'd already be filling out a death certificate. The Emma simply nodded. Then let's make sure he wakes up. Hours passed behind the operating room doors. Valor refused food, water, or rest. He lay outside the entrance, watching every person who walked by. Nurses who had once been afraid of him now gently patted his head as they passed. Somehow the intimidating military dog had become the quiet heartbeat of the entire hospital. Finally, the operating room doors opened. The surgeon removed his mask and smiled. "He's going to live." Applause erupted through the hallway. Several nurses wiped tears from their eyes, while the physician who had doubted Emma stepped forward. "I owe you an apology. I judged you before I knew who you were." Emma smiled gently. "You weren't judging me. You were judging what you thought you saw." 2 days later, Daniel slowly opened his eyes in the intensive care unit. The first face he saw was Emma's. "You kept your promise," he whispered. Emma laughed softly. "No, Valor did." As if on cue, the loyal Malinois walked carefully to the bedside. Daniel reached out with a trembling hand, and Valor rested his head against it. Even hardened doctors looked away to hide their emotions. Later that afternoon, hospital administrators gathered every employee in the emergency department. The director stepped forward. "We spend years learning medicine, but compassion cannot be taught from a textbook." Nurse Emma Carter reminded us that every patient deserves respect before judgment. The room erupted into applause. Daniel was eventually discharged stronger than anyone expected. Weeks later he returned, not in a wheelchair but walking slowly with a cane. Every member of the emergency staff stood waiting to welcome him home. He stopped in front of Emma. "When I asked if you could help me, I thought I was asking for medical care. Instead, you gave me my future." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You earned that future long before we met." As Daniel and Valor walked toward the hospital exit together, everyone understood that true heroes rarely announce themselves. Sometimes they arrived in wheelchairs. Sometimes they wore a nurse's uniform, and sometimes they had 4 legs and never spoke a single word. If this story reminded you that kindness, courage, and respect can save lives, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more unforgettable stories that prove real heroes are often hiding in plain sight.